This episode of Test Drive is brought to you by Elmec and their EV Duty Smart Home Charger.
The Jeep heritage stretches back to World War II era. Today we have a 2024 Jeep Wrangler 4xe Willys edition. We're gonna go for a test drive. My name is Victor.
I'm Nile. This is Test Drive. Let's hit the road. All right, we're behind the wheel of the 2024 Jeep Wrangler Willys 4xe. It's expensive, $75,000 as configured here in Canada, about $65,000 US if you go with a similar trim. But you do get quite a bit for it. This is pretty well optioned. The main selling factor of the 4xe obviously is the powertrain, a 2-liter 4-cylinder plug-in hybrid electric system with a 17.3 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery, good for about 21 miles or about 34 kilometers of pure electric driving. Total system output, really good, close to V8 power. We're looking at 375 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque. Awesome numbers out of this vehicle. Victor, how has it been for you driving around with it this week?
It drives quite nice. I really enjoy the power. When you're at a stoplight and you floor it off the line, it feels like a two-stage launch where the electric power kicks in first, and then a second later you get an extra surge of boost from the turbo engine. So the power is great. I think this is a good medium in between the base engines and the V8. You're obviously not paying for V8 amount here, V8 money here. This is great. City driving, Jeep does, as mentioned, it's a plug-in hybrid, so it does about 34 kilometers in the city, and that's where it shines, this car. Once it's on the highway, it's, as expected from a Jeep. It's a boxy car. Your fuel economy is not as good, so given that this is a hybrid, don't treat it like you're gonna get extremely good fuel economy. Instead, just think of it as a 2-liter engine with extra power.
Yeah, and if you're able to keep the car fully charged up with the 17.3 kilowatt hour battery, then you can experience a decent amount of driving in the city fully electric. When we drove the 22 Sahara 4xe a couple years ago, I ended up with 9.2 liters per 100 kilometers on our test loop. That was in Quebec, so things are a little different here. But Victor, you were saying it was close, but not quite as good on your drive here with this, correct?
Yeah, it's close. It's not as good as what Nile has mentioned, mainly probably because of the big wheels, especially with the all-terrain tires. And for 2024 model year, the Willys actually get a lift kit and also Rubicon fenders as well. So those are not great for fuel economy perspective, but then you get the wow factor of this vehicle.
That's true. It's kind of like a baby off-roader, right? And I mean, the Wrangler obviously is meant to be an off-roader, but you go with something like the Sahara, it's a little bit more pavement-oriented. So the Willys gives you a lot of those Rubicon features without having to go up to that particular trim. I do find, compared to at least the last couple ones that I've driven, ride is a little bit smoother than what I would expect on a Rubicon at least. So if you want a good middle ground between off-roading and on-roading, then the Willys might be the way to go. So as mentioned, for 24, there are a couple changes. It is a facelift for this generation Wrangler. We're getting a new front grille. Looks good. The rest of the exterior is about the same. Interior is where things have gotten different. We now have a 12-inch uConnect 5 infotainment screen, obviously running the latest version of uConnect. It looks pretty good. Nice wide screen. I'm glad they didn't just stick a tablet on the top there. But I know that Chrysler said that they had to re-engineer some of the way that the dashboard is set up in order to accommodate this new screen. So they say they've gotten rid of some of the materials and they've changed the actual vents in the center here. These are now rectangular. They used to be circular just like the rest of them, but I mean, it's a familiar interior for me. I think it works. Obviously, like any Wrangler, you're pretty much kissing the windshield as you're driving along, but that's to be expected. But as I was talking to Victor before we started filming, I've driven like 6 of these things already. This is the first time you're driving a Wrangler. How have you found it as an off-road vehicle and an on-road vehicle?
As an off-road vehicle, this is unbeatable. This is super awesome in terms of the capabilities. The solid axles, all around is phenomenal for off-roading. you know, this car has, this Jeep has got soft springs, but because of these axles, it's not great on tarmac. The all-terrain tires are great for off-road, but again, not fantastic for tarmac. On the road, where I would say most people are gonna be driving this car, it's not the best thing to drive on the road, let's put it that way.
That's putting it lightly.
The wind noises are loud, although for 2024 it's already slightly better because of the better sound insulation, and as option this car has a three-piece hardtop roof, so that helps with a little bit of the noise as well. But overall it's still a loud wind noise car, as you can tell, because of the big boxy shape and the fact that you can take off the doors.
Yeah, and that's the trade-off. You know, most people in the market, they're looking at a Wrangler because they want a Wrangler. I don't think that there's going to be anybody who's bought a Bronco recently that would be coming over to this, although the Bronco is really, really bad on fuel. So if that's really the key factor for you, then the Jeep currently is the only way to go to get a little bit better fuel efficiency. But yeah, I mean, you're buying this car, buying this SUV because you want this experience. So you're kind of going into it knowing that it's not going to be the best on-road experience. But I gotta say, it does feel just a little bit better than the previous ones I've driven when it comes to road noise and comfort. It's a nice improvement for somebody like myself who does not do any off-roading.
Jeep also says that they've done sort of software updates and optimizations with this hybrid powertrain. So the integration between the engine and the electric motors are more consistent and more smooth. And I can definitely feel it. I don't feel like the engine is intrusive or that it is clumsy in most circumstances, and I think they've made a great improvement here.
Well, that's good, because that was the complaint that we had when we drove it before. Even though I did like the 4xe quite a bit, I actually said it was my favorite vehicle, my favorite SUV. You're right, having those improvements does help, because we found it was a little jittery, very similar to the Grand Cherokee that we just drove a few weeks ago. So if they've alleviated some of those problems, that's good, because it's no fun. I mean, if you're getting a jerky feeling between electric and the ICE engine, it's no fun. I mean, you want the experience to be as smooth and seamless as possible, and it's good that Chrysler is doing some updates to make that better. But
for the Willys, we've got a couple of neat features and neat design cues that shows off that this is a Willys. We've got a Jeep badge on the gear knob.
Yep.
We've got, you know, Jeep logos basically everywhere, including the circulation button here. And Nile, what do you think about the denim interior decorations?
Well, maybe it actually helps a little bit with the overall sound insulation, because it might soak up a little bit of the road noise. But yeah, it's a different approach to what was there before, because I think on the Saharas it's like a leather or leatherette, so having some softer materials, not bad. I mean, if you do take this off-roading and mudding, I can see this getting stained immediately. But aside from that, you know, maybe again, the folks who are buying the Willys aren't necessarily going to be going mudding with the doors off. It's more for light off-roading if you've got a trail or something and you want to have something with a lot more capability than your typical SUV. That would be a good way. But I did notice, because this is the Willys trim, we've got the Gorilla Glass. There's some Corning stamping on the front windshield here with a Gorilla, which is kind of cool. And then, you know, obviously the other Easter eggs that you'd find on this generation Jeep throughout the vehicle itself.
And the antennas are now built into the windshield. So
finally.
A little bit less road noise from that antenna up top.
Yeah, you started off the video saying that this has its heritage back in 1947. Well, those antennas were pretty much still from 1947, and it is nice that they have finally gotten rid of them. I wish that some vehicles, like the Ford F-150 Lightning that we're going to be featuring as well, would get rid of those antennas as well. It just dates the vehicle quite a bit. So good on Jeep to have finally gotten rid of that.
Yeah, but then again, you know, with the integration of the windshield, with the antennas, you know, you might be looking at a slightly higher cost in terms of replacing windshield down the line.
That is a good point. And I mean, these windshields are pretty complicated these days. There's a lot. I mean, the cost has gone up quite a bit. From the last time I've replaced a windshield, it's anywhere from you know, a couple $100 to now a couple $1,000 sometimes.
Yeah, but as usual with the Jeep, you could fold down the windshield.
Yes,
So
that's true too.
If you prefer the muds in your face,
Yeah, absolutely. Or the bugs as well. You're good
Exactly.
to go. You got the options, right? That's the good thing about Jeep is, and that's something that we've always talked about with Jeep. Yes, this is an expensive vehicle at $75,000, but the base MSRP for this trim is just about $60K in Canada. So it is well optioned, and Chrysler, Stellantis, FCA, whatever you want to call them these days, they have always been good about allowing you to have as many options on any trim that you want, so you can kind of get the exact vehicle you want. And while this one is pretty well equipped, not everybody's going to be going this high up in terms of kitting out their wheelies, at least.
speaking of the hybrid powertrain, why don't we show the viewers how powerful these 470 pound-feet of torque is?
Let's take it for a dig.
Let's do it.
Is there a sport mode? I don't think so.
There's not a sport mode, but what I've noticed is that if you're not in 4 high, it doesn't give you all the power off the line.
Interesting.
So, if we just do a little bit of a brake.
Whoa! I wasn't expecting the concussion this early. You got the bar here at the back. That was pretty good. Yeah, it's a good amount of power. I got to say that it's impressive.
It feels like the front wheel just did a quick wheelie.
Almost, I mean, it's like Fast and Furious, right?
Yeah.
When Dominic's hitting the power on his Charger, flying up like that. That was actually a surprising amount of power out of that. So good job there.
Yeah, this is both the engine and the electric motors giving it everything it's got, and the result is fantastic. It puts a smile on my face every time I do this.
There you go.
It's great.
And speaking of everything it's got, if you want to know absolutely everything that there could be about this vehicle, like I said, we have featured the Wrangler 4xe in a little bit more depth before. We will have a link to that at the end of this video, as well as some of the other Jeep Wranglers that we've done. So you can get a link to those at the end of the video or throughout. But I think that will do it for us here on this video. If you want to know a little bit more about the Wrangler, as we've mentioned, we have done them before. We did the 22 4xe Sahara, so you can check out the full tour and review on that one, as well as some of the other Wranglers that we've done. We'll have links throughout the video, as well as a couple at the end. But your support helps us make this show possible. Not only liking and subscribing, but you can also share the video with your friends, family members, coworkers, whoever it may be, can help us get some more exposure and be able to provide you this content for free. But you can also help support this channel with a small monthly subscription as well. There are links to it in the bottom. Until next time, take care.
Thank you for watching.
See ya.